Hi everyone, welcome to Wigan Fan TV. My name's Sean Lawless. I'm joined by Mr. Matt Macaulay. We are waiting for the guys from Redvee TV. Dave, Kev, if you're watching, just use the link, come on board, and we'll pull you on to the screen as and when you join in. And it probably gives us a good chance for me and Matt to sort of put our cherry and white tinted glasses on with the absence of Saints fans for the time being. We won't talk
That's
too much
always
about
good.
them. In the comfort of ourselves. Massive game. I mean, Good Friday. I don't think there's a bigger week in the rugby league calendar for Wigan or Saints fans. Matt, St Helens top of the league so far. They've only lost the one game. How do you view St Helens so far? Are they the real deal as much as people are making them out to be?
You've got to say they are, haven't you? Really? I mean, they've lost one game. They've played more games than us. Just one more game, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
And they look frighteningly good. I've only really seen, I think I've seen about one game they've played, and I've watched a few highlights.
Yeah.
And the nature of highlights is you only see the best bits anyway. But they do look slick.
They do. I mean, one of the big things, I guess, with this year for everybody is just the brilliance that is Ben Barber so far. He leads the way in try scoring. He's up there with try assists with Sam Tompkins. Ben Barber versus Sam Tompkins is probably one of the subplots of the day. Sean Wayne, I think, perhaps tongue-in-cheek, says Ben Barber isn't the best fullback in Super League, which I think is just a lie because it probably all seems to have frozen. Ben Barber, what do you think he's done for Super League this year, coming in at Saints?
He's a star.
Yeah.
He's given Super League a little bit more star quality than it would have had otherwise. But he's not Superman.
No.
We mustn't fall into the trap of thinking he is absolutely 100% perfect. He'll have his flaws and his weaknesses. The trouble is, he is just so bloody good at the same time.
We've got David is just connecting as we speak. I'll just let him put his headphones in, and then we'll bring him online. Oh, he's just gone off. We'll bring him back on in a second. We'll let him get settled in, and we'll ask him his thoughts in particular on Wigan so far this season. Obviously, we're playing away at whatever it's called, the Totally Wicked Stadium. I think both teams are well matched, and we'll talk about perhaps where this game's going to be won and lost. How big a factor do you think this year, the fact that we're playing at Saints, do you think that ultimately gives them the advantage and the reason why the favourites in the bookies' eyes?
Wow. From a technical point of view, yes, it gives them the advantage because they're at home. The reality, I think, is going to be slightly more complex than that. I don't think in derbies like this, home advantage really counts for that much.
Yeah. We've got I can see off screen David and the guys getting ready. Kev's there as well. They're about to come on. I'm just going to try and pull David onto the screen in just a second once he's got his phone. He's gone back. I can see them. They're holding the phones up, trying to get online. One thing I'll ask you before we bring the Saints guys on, Matt, is there's obviously we've announced our squads, and we'll talk to David and Kevin in a second about the Saints squad and the difference that they're probably going to go with. The big decision from a Wigan point of view, I guess, is Josh Woods or Romain Navarrete coming in for Morgan Escaré. I know the answer already because you're a massive Romain Navarrete fan, but do you go for a bigger bench with Navarrete, or do you go for the untested Josh Woods off the bench and keep the switcheroo going?
I'd play it safe and go for Navarrete. I think we've got slightly better wingers and centres than they have, and so I think that the pack is going to be quite important. We need to give them a good battering down the middle. And for that reason, I'd have Navarrete there.
Well, we seem to have lost everybody. Nope. There we go. We seem to be back. Right, let me bring Matt back on. Matt, can you hear me?
Yeah, I like a nice, meaningful silence.
I seem to have the wrong Matt on. Let me see if I can bring one of the Saints guys on. Kev, let's see if we can get Kev on here. Kev, can you hear me all right?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Sorry about that. The first time we sort of invite somebody on, I think you've sabotaged it, haven't you? That's what you've done. I'm going to try and bring Dave on.
Yeah, I'm not tech savvy at all, mate. So
Dave, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you, yeah.
Right, let's try and bring Matt back on. Matt is still frozen. Matt, if you can hear me, if you want to try and sign out and sign back in, and then we'll bring you back on.
Brady Bunch this.
I know, it's great. This is the first time that we've sort of had so many people on the screen. Matt's going to sign out, sign back in. I think I am going to blame you two because at the minute I've got 4 Kev Penders waiting in the lobby to come on and 2 Daves waiting to come on. So I don't know what happened then. I was just talking to Matt whilst you were coming on air about his thoughts on St Helens so far this year. Kev, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on Wigan so far this year from a Saints perspective?
I'm never surprised when Wigan are rounded about the top of the league. To be honest, from what I've seen of you, I've been really impressed. Pretty much how you've been going forward, how you've been defending, getting the ball out to the wingmen. And as I always think about a Wigan pack, you never get anything but less than 7 out of 10 of them out of them. So, yeah, really impressed with them.
Dave, same question to you, I guess. Is there any... Obviously, we've been playing what we've been calling the switcheroo, which is Escaré coming off the bench and moving people around. I guess not too dissimilar with Saints in terms of, the halves aren't natural halves. I wouldn't say Johnny Lomax is a particularly natural half to start with. Is there anybody that's impressed you so far from what you've seen of Wigan? I know we've all been on telly twice, I think. But is there anybody from a Saints point of view that stands out as a particular threat on Friday?
I know it might sound pretty obvious, but Sam Tompkins. I was talking to a couple of the journalists who'd watched you in pre-season, who said Sam Tompkins was probably back to his best.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen of him, obviously we're relying on highlights as well. He looked really good in the game he had against Widnes. Just making that break and having that little bit burst of pace, which he might not have, or he may have lacked a little bit last season. Obviously, he wasn't fully fit at times, and he looks like he's getting back up there. I'm not entirely sure I agree with Mr. Wayne's comments about him being the best fullback in Super League, though.
I don't think many people agree with the fact that, Sean Wayne was asked the question, is Ben Barber the best fullback in Super League? And he said, no, I don't think many people disagree. He is the best fullback in Super League, Ben Barber. The statistics don't lie, really. Let's try and bring Matt back on and see if he's still frozen. Matt, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. We're just talking to the guys about their opinions on Wigan, really. To get, it's difficult. We've only been on telly twice, and likewise for St Helens, it's hard for us, I guess, to judge. Ben Barber seems like the obvious threat. I think Walmsley's a massive miss for you guys. The 19-man squad's been announced there. Obviously, Adam Swift misses out for St Helens. Kev, do you want Morgan back in, or do you think Lomax to centre? How would you play it on Friday?
I'd bring Morgan back in personally. I think you've got to play it in his proper position. Lomax and Richardson are kind of finding the way as a half-back partnership, and I think you've got to give them time to actually try and cement that partnership. I don't think playing for a couple of rounds at the start of the season and then trying to bin it off and changing quite a few positions for such an important game is the way to go.
See, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure I agree with that, because for me, if we're saying Johnny Lomax isn't a standoff and he's being played out of position, if you put Lomax at centre, then you're putting Phil Farge back in at 6, which is probably one of his most natural positions. So with Ryan Morgan probably not being match fit, I thought Lomax went really well at Hull KR on Friday night, and that's what I'd probably try and stick with that, because we've done it for 70 odd minutes last Friday. It worked well, and the continuity would stay in place that way.
Matt, from a Wigan perspective, our threat seems to be down the left-hand side, which I think Saints' biggest threat is probably down the left-hand side. It's probably the battle of the left sides, and we won't get too political on this. We are a very cultured show, Kevin Dave, by the way. We have poems and lots of things like that, and there is a poem behind Matt at the minute. From a Wigan point of view, Matt, when you look at this Saints team, and I mean this with the utmost respect, apart from Ben Barber, there doesn't seem to be too many world-class players, as there isn't in the Wigan squad, I guess. But from a Wigan point of view, Matt, who do you think we're targeting on Friday? Is it the fact that there's uncertainty over Morgan in centre and Lomax, or is there a particular weakness, do you think?
Oh, blimey. I wouldn't like to say where their weaknesses are. I think if we play strongly down the left-hand side, I think Wigan are going to be quite difficult to stop there. The trouble is their left-hand side, as you say, is pretty potent too. I just think the whole thing, it could come down to a really aggressive battle in the middle. Kyle Amor with his swinging arm might he might be the one to watch, really.
We've got no Liam Marshall to sort of duck under it and do a little dive with you. Keith, I'm not saying there's no world-class players. I'm acknowledging Ben Barber is a world-class player. But other than that, I mean, I think Super League doesn't have any particular world-class players other than Ben Barber, in all due respect. Kev, coming back to you, I think when you were off air, me and Matt were talking about we're probably going to go with, I think, 4 forwards on the bench. How we play the sort of the Luluai O'Loughlin situation, I'm not entirely sure whether O'Loughlin's got 80 minutes in his legs, might be a bit of a concern for us. I think Luluai certainly has. He played at scrum half for 80 minutes pretty much every game last year. Do you feel the absence of Walmsley and your pack is probably where we're going to target? Is that something that you're fearful of we're going to bring in a big pack and trying to beat you down the middle?
Yeah, mainly because Wigan do it every single time they play Saints. It's like Sean Wayne showed them pictures of Saints players kicking kittens or something like that, because they always turn up as if that first 10 minutes, the life depends on it. Now, against Hull KR last week, all of our packs stepped up and tried. I mean, you can't replace Alex Walmsley. There's no replacing him. But all of our pack, second rowers and the props, actually had probably their best game of the season. But yeah, it's always a worry how we're going to come out, especially them first 10 minutes and target. The other thing that I would kind of worry about you targeting is Regan Grace under the high ball. If he catches one, and he gets a bit of space, then the boy can shift. But it's just that uncertainty of a young winger being under the high ball. His second row and his centre have got to help him out.
He'll be against Davis, won't he?
Yeah, he will be on Davis's wing, will he?
Yeah, he'll be left wing for us, yeah.
Yeah, so he'll be up against Davis. I mean, I think Kev's touched on it there. I mean, John puts this forward. St Helens are very good this season, which is pretty obvious, but Wigan seem to play the Good Friday games like a final. Do you think Wigan have wanted it more in the past 8 years, more than St Helens? Do you think it's sort of... I'm not rubbing it in at all, Matt. I mean, I'm really not rubbing it in. I mean, so...
Do you know what?
10 years since you won on Good Friday, because the game before that was played on a Thursday. But
Good Friday is the best day of the year for rugby fans, apart from the 80 minutes where we actually have to go to the game. We really enjoy it beforehand. We go back to the pub afterwards with our Wigan friends, enjoy a few pints, and we just try not to talk about rugby after the game, win or lose. I think I've read a couple of stats this week. I think Bilko of Wigan RL fans, he was saying basically this is the second longest run you've ever had of winning on Good Friday. I think it's 8 in a row now. I think the record's 15 before the First World War. And another good stat I thought he came out with today: when Saints and Wigan have gone on to win the grand final, 9 out of 10 times they have won the Good Friday derby, and I think that cannot be underestimated. I think that's probably a lot to do with either Saints and Wigan are usually top dogs around Super League, and obviously if you get on top of Good Friday, it probably shows you the better side. But Sean Wayne, he just gets you up for it, doesn't he, every single time? And I sometimes wonder whether Saints players as a club, they've got that blasé about Good Friday derbies, whereas Sean Wayne, good Wigan lad, builds you up for it and gets you stuck in. And you sometimes think it's a mental thing for Saints now. Too many times Wigan have come to us, or we've gone to Wigan, And on Good Friday, Wigan get that first try, and then they get the second, and then all of a sudden you get a roll on, and we just seemingly collapse. And it's inexplicable, because after the Good Friday derby, the derby played after that, Saints have won 7 of the last 8, it's got to be a mental issue.
Yeah, so we're doing you a favour by winning, really.
Yeah, we're motivating you for the rest of the season.
To be fair, the last time we won a grand final, you beat us on Good Friday. That was the one time that went against the rules. So we'll let you have that one.
Yeah, we all remember that one, and so does Ben Flower, unfortunately. We'll get some of the questions from the comments. If anyone's got any questions for any of the guys, throw them into the comments. We'll get some. We're obviously going live to a lot of St Helens fans, so we're getting a lot of interesting comments from Saints fans. And the Wigan fans are giving it back. Stuart he says 8 in a row. Yes, sweet. Yeah, it's 8 in a row, but let's hope we can make it 9. I'm not confident myself. Matt, let's come to you in regards to. I want to talk about Matty Smith, because I'm a massive Matty Smith fan. He can't get in the St Helens team. He's in the 19 squad. I don't think any of us probably expect him to feature. Probably he'll feature on Good Friday for Saints. Do you feel sorry for Matty Smith, Matt?
No.
He's well paid, isn't he?
Honestly,
why the hell would I feel sorry for him?
Honestly, he just seems like such a nice bloke, and he's such a good. I really like him, but I think obviously the Saints are playing well enough to not get him in the side. Kev, do you think Matty Smith's got a future at St Helens, or is this very much playing for another club?
The minute I say no, Murphy's Law will kick in, and we'll need a halfback. It's absolutely nailed on. I wouldn't be adverse once Easter's over and we've counted bodies after Easter Monday to see if there was a short-term loan deal just to get him some games. We've seen over the past couple of years, and not going to even try and make an excuse of it, it's recruitment more than anything, that we've had injuries in the halfback position. I'd like to see him stay at the club to cover those, but I think the emergence of Danny Richardson in pre-season, obviously a bit at the end of last year, and then in pre-season this year, has pretty much put him at 4th choice for us. So Danny I can't really see him. He has, yeah. I mean, he's still got a lot to learn. You'll see when he receives the ball on the 5th tackle, he's usually up in the line. He's not dropped back. So a couple of times he has to get himself out of trouble a little bit, and it's quite exciting to see. Well, your heart starts going anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got a big future in the game. Definitely got a big future in the game.
Do you know? I think I've got an answer for you here. What you do? You're worried about where Matty Smith might play. Just chuck about 4 halfbacks into your team, rotate them through the game, call it something like the switcheroo. That seems to work.
Yeah,
I think we've got that a little bit. We've got Barber, Lomax, Richardson, and Theo Farge coming off the bench. So, and at times, I think that probably cost us a little bit, maybe against Leeds in the game we lost. It seemed everybody was trying to do too much rather than doing the simple things. And John Wilkin got involved as well. And I think after that game, he was criticised a little bit by Justin Holbrook, was John Wilkin. And we saw it on Friday night at Hull KR when he was playing as a straight second rower, just running the ball in hard, that he had a much better game for it.
You don't want. I mean, John Wilkin does seem to overcomplicate or complicate things by just getting in the way half the time. I think, from a Wigan point of view.
And if he does what he's good at, which is what he did on Friday night, just running hard and straight with that little bit of pace that he's still got, he's a great player. He's just not a halfback, I'm afraid.
Matt, there's a question here from you, from David, who's a St Helens fan. What do Wiganers think of Justin Holbrook? What's your take on Justin Holbrook, Matt?
I absolutely hate it when Saints get a coach I find really likeable. And they've gone and done it, haven't they? They've done it.
I mean,
we're still waiting for that with Wigan.
I think a lot of Wigan fans would agree with you with that as well, to be honest with you. Sean Wayne is probably the most divisive coach I think we've had at Wigan for a long time amongst Wigan fans, let alone opposing fans.
You know what? A lot of people are saying about Ben Barber's turned Saints around. It's not Ben Barber, is it? I mean, it's Holbrook. He's the one responsible for this, really.
Yeah. Well, we've actually had a discussion on Redvee TV. Who would you, if you were going to lose anybody, who would you rather lose, Ben Barber or Justin Holbrook? And it says a lot for Justin Holbrook that most people who answered the question said Ben Barber. You can replace Ben Barber, but Justin Holbrook, you only have to look at the difference between Saints pre-Holbrook at the start of last season and now, and the personnel hasn't necessarily changed very much. He's just he brings the best out of the players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. I think if you apply that to any other team, that's probably not going to be. If I put that to Matt, would you rather lose Sam Tompkins or Sean Wayne? I'd be interested to see what your answer is on that.
They're married, aren't they? You can't have one without the other.
I think he's married to a lot of Wigan players, according to some fans. Stuart says, leave Wilkin alone. He's been our best player for ages. You can guess who Stuart supports there with his thing. Let's get on to how we think this game's going to go. How's it going to be won and lost? Kev, obviously, I assume as far as you're concerned, it's the Saints win, but where do Saints win the game on Friday?
Well, I think it's going to be a great battle up front, as you've been saying, through the middle. If we can match your pack, especially in the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, it's the Roby and Barber show, and I do think it will be a Saints narrow win. I'm not confident saying that. That's why I'd only go say 4 points in it. But yeah, I think it'll be probably something to do with our back three winning it, and probably the name Ben Barber said over and over again. Because
he gets sent off. Ben,
yeah, for celebrating his winning try too much. Yeah.
Ben reminds me when I was talking about no world-class players there that James Roby is in the St Helens squad. So yeah, thanks Ben. I did forget about James Roby, and I don't think I'll forget about him on Friday either. Ben Barber is. I do agree with you, Kevin, and I think that is probably where this game's going to go. It's either going to be. It seems to be built up. From a Wigan point of view, it's going to be the Sam Tompkins show. From the St Helens point of view, it's going to be the Ben Barber show. Now, obviously, there's 12 other players on the pitch at the time for each side that are going to have a big say in that game, and I think that's possibly a little bit unfair to say that it's going to be Barber versus Tompkins, but they're certainly going to have a big say in where this game is won and lost. Matt, we'll get a Wigan perspective from you. Wigan are obviously going to win the game as far as you're concerned, Matt, and where are Wigan going to win the game on Friday?
I think historical advantage, and I'll tell you what I mean. I've done a bit of research and I found a bit out about St Helens. Going back years, says it. The Merseyside town of St Helens is named after St Helen or St Ellen. She was the daughter of the leader of a fierce tribe from the north of Wales, and she would provide comfort and succour for her father's troops on the eve of great battles. The townsfolk opted to take the name St Helens because they knew that, just like her, they would be getting regularly stuffed by rampant warriors. And I think that tells you exactly how it's going to go.
Matt, as always.
How do I follow on from that? Do you know what? I know we've talked about Ben Barber, but I tell you now, if Ben Barber has a 10 out of 10 performance, it doesn't matter if the rest of our squad doesn't perform. I think too often in recent years, we've always had one or two players who might play well, but the rest let us down. Saints this season have probably built on, the little bit of Ben Barber brilliance, but with a lot of our performance have been given 7 and 8 out of 10s each week. And we're going to need that on Friday. It's because obviously we're missing Alex Walmsley. Obviously, Wigan's pack will try and get on top. It's going to take, obviously, Luke Thompson, Kyle Amor, Luke Douglas to have decent games, and obviously our second row as well, and build upon that. And you spoke earlier about world-class players. Now, Ben Barber, is world-class. James Roby, maybe just falling out of that bracket now, obviously, because he's getting on a little bit. Mark Percival has the potential to get there eventually. And that's the thing, you don't need to be world-class now in Super League. You just need to have players who are good and very good and put it in each week. And you saw that's what Leeds did against us last week when we got beat. They didn't have a standout player. They just had a lot of good 7 and 8 out of 10 performances.
I think Wigan are a very good team at getting 7 out of 10 performances on a regular basis across that board. On Good Friday, definitely. This is interesting. I'm going to get score predictions from the three of you before we go off. But I'm going to throw this out there. This isn't something that I've planned to ask you, but Michael Everton asked the question, Percival or Gildart, who would you rather have? Now, I'm not going to ask you that question, Kev. I'm going to ask you, would you have Gildart and Percival if you get rid of Morgan next year? Now, there is a rumour going around. Gildart is out of contract at the end of the year. There's a strong rumour that St Helens is sniffing around him as well as NRL clubs. I assume you would take Gildart without any hesitation next year, would you?
In a heartbeat.
I just can't understand why Wigan are dallying around this. we've got Bateman who can go to an NRL club. We've got Sutton out of contract. Reportedly got Sam Tompkins out of contract at the end of the year, and Gildart out of contract. It just seems, anyway. Dave, Gildart and Percival, that would be one hell of a team, wouldn't it?
Well, it'd be an absolute no-brainer, and obviously Saints are playing Ryan Morgan an overseas wage, which you'd imagine the way Ryan Morgan is out of the side at the moment, that he's not going to be retained next season. But never say never, because we all thought that about Dominic Peyroux at one time, and he's coming back into the side and he's playing really well. Yeah. But at this moment in time, you could probably see Ryan Morgan going home at the end of the year. If Gildart is available, then it'd be an absolute steal. It's not even a question that needs asking. All Saints fans would welcome into the side. Just we got Lee Gilmore a few years, well, obviously going back off here, and he was an absolute stalwart of our side, and we probably let him go too soon. So, yeah, no brainer, we'd have him.
I mean, unfortunately, it is a rumour that does seem to have some kind of ground, which is awful if you're a Wigan fan, and the fact that he could even leave the club is absolutely. To be
fair, you wonder sometimes just how much of it might be just agent talk, trying to get more money from Wigan.
I don't know. Right, let's go for score predictions before we leave everybody in peace. Matt, let's get the Wigan thoughts from you. Score predictions for Good Friday.
Wigan 27, St Helens 18.
For regular viewers of Wigan Fan TV know who Matt is going to predict for first try scorer, but put us out of our misery, Matt.
I think it's going to be Navarrete.
Navarrete, there we go. Just so you two guys know, Navarrete has been the first try scorer according to Matt for the past 6 weeks, even though he's only played one game. Has he? He's only played one game.
Has he? I'll leave my money in my pocket.
You just watch.
Go you, Dave. How do you think it's going to go?
Don't put me on the spot when I don't think we're going to win. I don't know. Do you know what? Too many times over the years, I've gone in confident to these games and got spanked for it. I think I remember, was it 2004 when Saints came to the JJB, you had everybody on the deathbed and you still managed to beat us with a load of kids. So Radlinski coming off his deathbed like Lazarus at Twickenham. Not Twickenham, at Murrayfield. I've been haunted too many times by it. Do you know what? I'd take the scrappiest drop goal 1-0 victory right now. But if Saints are going to win, I'll let you have Tom Davis for the. Tom Davis, I'm supposed to Everton. Davis for your first try. I give you that little bit of hope.
Kev, we've nearly gone a full show with two Saints fans without anybody bar Carl saying 75-0. So we do appreciate the fact that 75-0 has been missing until Carl brought it up a few minutes ago there. Kev, you said 4 points in it. What score do you think it'll be, and who are you going for first try scorer?
24-20 I've gone for to Saints. Saints first try scorer, and I'll go with Zeb Tyre. We're going to go down the left-hand side. He might just keep hold of one and bundle his way over the line.
I'm going to go. I think somebody's actually pretty much put. I think Keith here. It's too close to call this Friday. 18-16 Saints, or even a draw. I do think this could be a draw this weekend. That's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for a 16-all draw. What we normally do, Kevin Dave, is we always give the camera to Matt before we finish for his poem. I mean, we can build it up so much, and it never fails to I don't know how to follow that up. But
I can see in the background how he's managed to rhyme pie with lie. So you know what? He's obviously a bard in the making, isn't he?
I mean, bard is definitely something. Kev, Dave, before I let you go, first of all, thank you so much for coming on and joining us and doing this joint collaboration with Redvee TV and Wigan Fan TV. Kev, is there anything that you want to add before you leave? Any sort of passing wisdom, any poems, any puppets? We've had puppets on the show before.
No. I'm going to leave it right there. I'll leave you with the Muppet, Dave. So that'll do for me.
Yeah, well, do you know what? It's an 18,000 sellout on Friday. There's 4,000 Wiganers coming over the hill. It'd be good to see you enjoying the St Helens hospitality early on in the pubs and bars and putting some money over the counters over here. We'll be out early, probably Wetherspoons and around town. So if anybody's about, come say hello.
I was going to say, Dave,
afterwards in the pub, if you come in there. Obviously, a lot of the Wiganers will probably head for the Wetherspoons in the town centre, but there's the George on George Street, which is a really good rugby pub where a lot of Wiganers will probably go into as well. But all the hostelries will be pretty welcoming with a decent pint. So join us before the game for a few pints, and then afterwards you can come and commiserate for a change and hopefully take the glee from some Saints fans.
You know that we'll be doing the Wigan walk if things aren't going too well, so you can.
Forgot what that looks like on Good Friday.
Matt, again, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to hand over to Matt to finish the show as always. So, Kev, Dave, thank you so much again for joining us. This video will be available from the guys at Redvee TV on their YouTube channel later on as well for anybody.
I'm going to stick around for this poem.
Yeah,
you have to stick around for this poem. I mean, Matt,
I want to hear this.
I've built this up so much now. I'm really sorry, Matt, but take it away.
Yeah, thanks for that. Okay, the Saints prediction poem. The Saints are riding quite high, and for once, I'm not going to lie. They've got me quite scared, but I tell them, beware, because you can never write off the pies.
I've heard that somewhere before, that saying. And it doesn't end in pies.
Guys, thank you so much, everybody.
No worries, cheers.
Cheers,
boys.
Thanks a lot.
And
cheers, Matt.
Best of luck for the rest of the season after Friday.
You too.
Cheers, guys.